Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse, it's Nigel once again, and welcome back to the Labyrinth. So, of course, as always, I got some poetry for you guys today, and of course, as you can see, I got my I got my second screen working, so you'll be able to follow along with me. But as always, I got some poetry for you guys today, and I I always hope that you guys enjoy these ones, but especially these ones. I think these ones, especially you guys are gonna really enjoy. But of course, if this is your first episode of Dixi's Tales from Labyrinth, welcome. If not, welcome back. But if you are indeed new here, what we do is we read poetry, for the most part, with some exceptions, but we read poetry. We read and analyze poetry. So I have 3 poems written by myself, as you can see, 2 written from other poets, and we're going to read them, analyze them, talk about their meanings and things, and how they apply maybe to our daily lives or other aspects of life. So, oh, if that is your kind of thing, please consider subscribing for more and check out my other episodes of Dixie's Tales from the Labyrinth. But without further ado, let's get right into it. And you may or may not hear some wind and going on. It is kind of windy. It looks like it's about to rain too outside, and I do have the window open because, of course, it's pretty warm here in Buffalo this time of year. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first one is called Authors. We are the authors of our stories, writing away, writing our stories, all of our experiences, all of our shortcomings, all of our moments, good or bad. We write them down and share them with others, hoping someone reads our stories and perhaps helping them inspire their own. This is kind of something, obviously not talking about authors, but something I've kind of delved into when it comes to poetry. Or not even just poetry within my poetry, of course, but within life itself. Talking about life and how we, for the most part, define our lives. As they say, that life is 99% what happens to us, I got flipped. It's 1% what happens to us, 99% how we react to it, and definitely is the case because life does suck sometimes, but how things usually pan out is the result of how we choose to address things. So, everything we've gone through, not always pretty, of course, but what we go through, and how we handle what we go through, and our reactions to what we go through is usually the crux of how we define ourselves and define our lives, if that makes any sense. So, of course, writing away our stories. Some write actual literal books, autobiographies, if you will, but some stories are a bit more metaphorical, and people share them with others. Whether to inform, inspire, or what have you, and everybody has a story. I always maintain that everyone has a story, and sharing their stories with others. It takes a lot of bravery to be able to do that. Not just to inform and provide a little background about that person and their story, what they've gone through, but perhaps to help inspire someone else who may be going through the same or something similar at least. So everybody has a story. So when you have a moment, take some time to listen to someone else's story. Who knows? You might learn something about your own story. You might appreciate that person more and what they've gone through more. But nevertheless, this next one's called Red Fog. Red fog filling the air, visible all around, yet nothing is visible. Burning at the eyes and at the lungs, while the fires rage on and on. So, if I'm not mistaken, this one I had written a while ago. I think this was at the time where it was that really big fire here in Canada, and it made its way over here into Buffalo because obviously we border Canada's right there beyond the Peace Bridge and everything, but. Yeah, but what if it's not just a physical fire? Obviously, physical fire and everything. It's gonna, where there's smoke, there's fire, and so the smoke's gonna fill the air, and it obviously may be harmful and everything because of the fog, because of like the fog, the thick fog and everything, which was a concern. And obviously, that the fog was getting into people's lungs and causing issues there. But this isn't for me, this is not just a physical fire with physical fog. That's definitely what inspired me to write in the first place. Is but think about the metaphorical fog, the metaphorical red fog. A fog surrounding you, a fog that might be harmful to you, a fog that you gotta escape out of. And it hurts at you. It hurts your eyes, hurts your lungs, stuff like that. A lot of us have gone through fogs like that. Whether the fire is and I think in this case the fire is definitely in a negative connotation, where we've gone through that fire where we have to pull ourselves out of the fire, and it burns and it hurts, but we still have to pull ourselves out. So definitely, definitely something to think about, I would say. But this next one is called Innocence. The childlike innocence, hopeful and optimistic, often gets swept away in the seas of despair. Here, think back to when you were a child, when you were smaller, or think back to that childlike innocence you had, where you thought things were gonna go one way. In your life, you had your life all mapped out. When we were a kid, we always had dreams and everything about what we wanted to be, and our perception of life was very different. Like, hey, when I grow up, I want to be this, this, and this. I want to have this car. I want to have this house, stuff like that. But then think about when you get older and your experiences as you grow up, and how those rock that childlike innocence you had, where the world you see is very different and it's sometimes warped. Now, some people do try to hold on to that childlike optimism, maybe not innocence, but that childlike optimism, to where are they able to push through. And just because I refer to it as childlike doesn't necessarily mean negative. Like, having that optimism, trying to go through life, keeping your head up high, that definitely will help you get through, and that's what's tried to help me out quite a bit when it comes to life. But otherwise, sadly, quite a bit of that fades as we get older, because of our experiences, because we know better, because we know exactly what the world is like. So sadly, we can't always is we try to be as optimistic as we can, but we can't always take that approach. And so I think that's mainly that's mainly what that poem is describing there. But if you're able to hold on to that optimism and that spark in your eye, that childlike spark in your eye, and carry it into your later life, where the things you wanted to do as a kid, you actually stuck to it and made it work, or hey, fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm definitely happy to hear that, and you definitely should be happy for that, because that's something that not everybody has. But this next one is called Listening, and this is by David Ignatow. And if I do mispronounce any of these names, I do apologize. You wept in your mother's arms, and I knew that from then on I was to forget myself. Listening to your sobs, I was resolved against my will to do well by us, and so I said, without thinking, in great panic, to do wrong in one's own judgment, though others thrive by it, is the right road to blessedness. Not to submit to error is in itself wrong and pride. Standing beside you, I took an oath to make your life simpler by complicating mine, and what I always thought would happen did. I was lifted up in joy. So within this poem here, what David here is exploring, and always keep in mind that just because the poem may say like use the first person language, or even a little bit of second person language, here saying you and stuff like that. So kind of like first and second person language. Just because that language is used doesn't always mean that the poet is necessarily the narrator. But for the sake of argument, we can pretend that the poet is himself, that being obviously David here, is the narrator. So obviously something happened to where his wife, aka his child's mother, and his child may have felt abandoned, may have felt that he wasn't quite there, and so he had to improve himself and strive for improvement within himself, to be there for his family, and so committing himself to his family, which of course, whether you're together with your with your child's parent and child's other parent or not. Being there for your family is obviously what you do. But especially here, or committing himself to his family. He, as we see here, and what I always thought would happen did. I was lifted up in joy, meaning it was a great decision by him to commit to his family and be there for his family, and and make that dedication not just to his child's mother, but the child themselves. So seeing how he may have been wrong at one point, and may have been and doing things that were unbecoming of a family man at points. But then and committing himself to his family, and recommitting himself to his family, and choosing to be there for his family, which I mentioned is what you're supposed to do, but not everyone does. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of things. But committing himself to his family, he definitely making. Definitely making that difference within his life, and really making the difference within himself and his family dynamic for his child. So committing himself to his child, and they say family is usually about sacrifice. So when you have family, when you have a child, you sacrifice yourself, and that's being explored here as well. Sacrifice yourself for your child, to raise your child, and to be there for your child. Having a family is a big responsibility. It's something that not everyone is cut out for, or I know I'm definitely not, at least not at this point in my life. But yeah, so that I think is the main thing being explored here, is that committing to responsibilities and to family, which is what you should do, but now really to come into that responsibility. And again, narrator not always is the poet himself. For all we know, the poet could be talking about someone else and putting himself in their shoes, but for argument's sake here, I think that's mainly what I'm getting out of this. But this last one's called Saturday's Child. This is by Countee, Cullen. Some are teethed on a silver spoon, with the stars strung for a rattle. I cut my teeth as the black raccoon, for implements of battle. Some are swaddled in silk and down, and heralded by a star. They swathed my limbs in a sackcloth gown, on a night that was black as tar. For some, Godfather and Goddam, or Goddame, perhaps, the opulent fairies be. Dame Poverty, he gave me my name, and pain godfathered me. For I was born on Saturday, bad time for planting a seed, was all my father had to say, and one more mouth to feed. Death cut the strings that gave me life, and handed me to sorrow, the only kind of middle wife my folks could beg or borrow. What Countee exploring here is the difference of life, where some people have more affluent life. Literally, the expression "born with a silver spoon," born into riches, born into money, being able to have several things at their disposal. But Countee here had to struggle. Life was very different for them, and so showing that difference in life, showing that here was as their experiences, here's my experience. So showing that contrast, showing that not everybody, and mainly he documented their own experience, but also could be documenting other people's experience as well, because sadly not everybody has the best access to things. So a lot of people weren't born rich. I know I definitely wasn't, but people not being born rich, having to literally fight to survive and to make it in life. Some people who born with a head start are because of what they were born into, but that others have to struggle and fight and not always having the best life, not always having the best upbringing. So really having to overcome that. And I'm not here to make a judgment call and say that one is better than the other, but just showing that difference in life, I think, is the main exploration when it comes to this poem. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see as soon as it drops. And let me know in the comments what your thoughts on any of these poems. Do you like, dislike these poems? Did you like my analysis of these poems? And what are your analysis of these poems? What do you think of them, and what are you getting out of them? But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.